Hello and welcome to Insights on Internships from Professor Jones, the podcast where we explore how internships and hands-on experience shape meaningful careers in the hospitality industry. I'm Professor David Jones, longtime educator, researcher, and hospitality professional. In this chapter of the podcast, Alumni Voices, I'm reconnecting with former students who've taken what they've learned in the classroom and during internships and built it into careers they're proud of. In each episode, we'll hear real stories, practical advice, and thoughtful reflections from professionals across the hospitality world, all starting with one common experience, their internship and/or work-study. Whether you're a student, an educator, or an industry professional passionate about hospitality career development, you're in the right place. Welcome to another episode of the IOI Podcast. I'm excited today to have Eon Yang with me, and I'm very happy to have you here as my guest today. She is this is a long title. She is the Manager for Commercial Support and Revenue Management for Apara Hotel Advisors in Singapore. Great to have you here today, Eon.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. So we're talking about internships, but let's first give our audience a little bit of your background, including the university you went to, you're an alumni of, your major, as well as bring us up to date on what you're doing today in the industry.
All right, here we go. Hi all, my name is Eon, a very happy working adult, I would say, in my early 30s right now. Happy because I completely love my job and where I am right now in the hospitality industries. So we are right now in the month of August. I would like to say the same month, 7 years ago, I graduated from Singapore Institute of Technology, or you may call it SIT in the short form. I was enrolled in the Bachelor degree of Hospitality Business. It was actually the first hotel-related program for a degree student in a local university back then. So I have to say it saved a lot of us from spending our parents' money for a Switzerland school in that era, if you really love hospitality.
Exactly.
So fast forward to today, I remain very active in the hospitality industry, and just very recently, I've ended my first career after graduations in 2018. So that was a job with Marriott Cluster Revenue Team for 4 luxury hotels as a senior revenue manager. That ended one month ago. And from there, I moved on to where I am right now. I've joined an asset management company called Apara Hotel Advisors, registered here in Singapore. We look after hotel portfolios for the owners, and my current role as the manager for commercial support and revenue management.
Outstanding. What a great background and terrific aspect. Congratulations on that move.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the internship experiences that you had. Tell us a little bit about those internships that you did while you were studying at SIT.
Right. While I was with SIT, I actually had the privilege to take a year 3 module in advance when I was just a freshie in year 1 of the program. So that was under Prof. Jones, of course. Needless to say, it was a revenue management module. And from there, I actually had my eyes locked on this path. Like my interest just shot up the moon. I proactively looked for an opportunity in this discipline during my 4 months term break. Altogether, I was still in my year 1. So my first try wasn't that lucky, but I was close though, because I have landed myself in the distribution team in the regional office for Millennium and Compton Group here in Singapore, because I was simply convinced by the HR back then, while there was no opportunity for revenue management, she simply said this to me: "Hey, think of distribution as a next step after any revenue decisions are being made, because this particular team will help to set rates up in whatever platform or channels for it to sell. And without this team, what is revenue management?" So without much knowledge, I just say yes to it. So the HR was actually partially right, because it was only a GDS-focused distribution team But when I got into the real revenue management world, then I started to learn that, okay, there are many other channels to get all the rates up. But of course, I still had a pretty fun time over there. I definitely gained a lot of early insights into what global systems like Amadeus and Sable are, the corporate negotiated rates, what is it all about, and of course, the yearly RFP structure and process. So it helped as a freshie. Right, then with that experience, I and some other connections that I managed to gain in second year and third year of studies through some networking events. In my final year, I actually managed to secure an 8 months long internship attachment program, or we call it IWSP, or you may just call it a very long internship. Yeah, right? 8 months long. So with the flagship Pan Pacific Hotel here in Singapore. So from there, I get to experience the whole cycle from watching how trends and performance evolve. Also to discussing and deciding on pricing strategies. Of course, it wasn't my call back then, but I get to watch how people actually do it, the professionals. And from there, we also learn how to design and launch promotions according to the needs or demand or supply at the moment. And again, finally, to loading rates and selling it. So that was already something that I knew beforehand, right? It was all fun and it was such an eye-opening experience, and it deepened my interest further in pursuing revenue management as a proper job after graduation.
That's terrific. A little aside for our listeners, that was the first revenue management course that I had taught. And we did a simulation during there, and Eon's team won that simulation. So for all of you out there who may take revenue management that do a simulation, there could be a career path in front of you if you can win that competition.
Just that we have to compete in the real life competition.
Yeah. Well, during that internship experience, you headed right off to revenue management. Was there anything in particular that influenced you that you said, maybe those are some of the things I did that's not the area that I wanted to pursue?
I would say perhaps finance.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty interesting twist. A lot of people have different perceptions, or maybe I would say a false perception about revenue management, because the first thing they heard it, they would say, finance department, right? Or finance related stuff. So I was like, yes and no, because they are all numbers related, but revenue focuses a lot more, or I would say 99%, just on driving the top line. Whereas on the finance side of things, while they let the revenue folks do their top line stuffs, based on the forecast that revenue folks set, the finance team actually has to really come up with ideas on how to manage the bottom line, the cost. So I guess that is something that I don't really enjoy doing it, because there's only so much you could do in managing costs, because there are fixed costs to be there.
Oh, that's a great observation. That's a great observation of the difference between the two. Yeah, very good, very good. So what do you think was the most valuable takeaway that you got from that intern experience?
The most valuable takeaway, I would say, would be the connection and the discussions or the dialogues that I have heard during my internships, because it may just be a conversation right next to you that should not bother you at all, but it was exactly moments like those, be it lunch topics or just sitting in meetings or seeing how the stakeholders like GMs or department heads speak. You actually get to learn a lot from there, because revenue management is never static. It keeps moving. It's very dynamic. So any ideas could just spark instantly from conversations that you have heard, if you pay attention to it, or you suddenly find a logic behind those theories that people have taught you. Yeah, it's making sense out of things. So I would say being involved, being at that setting, at that environment, is the most valuable thing that I simply love about internships. So 8 months wasn't long enough.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And it gives you the perspective of why you make decisions that you make as well, right? Exactly.
And there's no right or wrong. just different
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well, that's why it's a team that typically does the revenue management, right? That, not one person's view, but everybody kind of gathers together to make those decisions.
Correct.
So what have you seen in your time in the industry since you did the internship that you feel today's student intern should know?
I would like to say this may sound a little common, but I think it would be my job or my responsibility to help the intern to ensure the interns actually have a right objective in mind, or some people may say to have the right attitude. But I would see another angle that is with a right objective, people would have a very keen interest in wanting to contribute. So it's like a reverse logic. If you want to contribute to seeing some good results or changes at wherever you are, that actually forms a very solid objective and motivations, and naturally you will want yourself to be good at it, which means you will then want to be wanting to learn more out from the job or whatever task they are doing, so that you know yourself at the end of the day, you will be able to contribute with confidence. So I guess it is about having that natural motivations. It drives people towards forward with a focus, and along the way you keep building your work expertise. So I would say it's not really focused on any technical aspects of the internship of your choice, but having that kind of right mindset when you enter the setting.
You've had some great insights. I really appreciate them a lot. So if you think about it this way, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in choosing an internship experience, or would you have done it the same way?
I would totally. No, first of all, I have no regrets about my choice of internships. So I think I have done it in the best way I could, 90% at this. It was a very fulfilling and rewarding experience, like I said earlier. So if there has to be one area that I might have explored further, I guess it would be getting more involved, like literally, in operational level discussions. Or even some hands-on work, like a little bit of rotation would be just perfect, right? Participating in conversations, just like I mentioned earlier, would just offer someone a very deep insights into why things are done in certain ways. You may not need to keep asking people why. I know there are no stupid questions, but of course, with better understanding, it's actually possible to start thinking of opportunities for improvement. And from there, you would start asking smarter questions, because internship duration is very short, no? Time is limited. Instead of beating around the bush, normally I would like to be very targeted. So, yeah, more involvement in other areas would actually help, because revenue management, there's just no limit. It's beyond rooms.
Yes, exactly. I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to supervise or be involved with an intern, but they would be very fortunate to have you with your attitude towards it, because that's exactly how I have always said it should be, is that you have to have them much more involved in just the job they're doing while they're doing an internship, to understand the bigger picture of what the ultimate objective is when you're studying to become a manager, as you have in the field.
Well, I didn't really have any mentee or intern under me before, but in my years with Marriott, I've grown to become a manager, and I used to have 2 analysts who work quite closely under me. It was a rough path, I would say, because I myself was also learning, right, on how to become a better manager or a leader. So I gave a lot of conversations, but of course, the learning point was we also have to study what is the right appetite for the other party. My way of teaching or my way of looking at the industries or growth may not be the same. So on that topic, I'm still learning, honestly. But
of course, yeah. We all are. Trust me. As long as I've been around, I'm still learning, and I learned from all of you in terms of your experiences too. Well, finally, in the foundations chapter of this podcast, I address specific topics in the before, which is your preparation for an internship, the during, what you should be learning on the job, and then after, a reflection back on your experience afterwards, after you've completed it. So keeping that in mind, if you were doing a podcast episode, if you were to choose one in that foundation area, what might it be? Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts.
I would think it would be the after advice category. Right. Here, I think I would want to link it a little bit to workforce or different generations, because besides the ever-changing technology, another significant force at play is actually the changing generations, which I think a lot of us know, even back then in year one of uni program. I worked on a project, an individual project called How Millennials Workforce Behave in the hospitality industry, or something like that. So fast forward to today, it moves even further away from Gen Y to Gen Z, and then soon we will see Gen Alpha in the workplace. So I would say we often heard a lot about how employers should adapt to the changing preferences and the behaviors of these younger generations. We should have work flexi hours. We should expose them a lot more, because young people these days are very eager, and etc. etc. But I personally believe it is actually a two-way street. Like you take two hands to clap. Just like how supply and demand will work together to create a very balanced market, so that we yield the most in the revenue terms. In short, I guess it is a shared responsibility between two parties in shaping a productive and sustainable workplace. That is why I am particularly very interested to discover what more can be done to prepare the next generation, not to just enter the workforce as who they are, but also to become valuable and effective contributors, while the employers, over the years, the HR experts are already working non-stop on how to perfect the work environment to welcome a new generations. I guess it could be also our responsibility to help and go out earlier back to the school as an alumni or anything, or guest speaker, just to coach the younger generations a little bit more in terms of how they think. So I'm interested in the advice category.
Excellent. I'll tell you, you will be, and you are, such a great example for those coming up to follow. So I hope you get opportunities to supervise those and those that you're managing, for that matter, along that way, because your insights have been extremely valuable. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
Well, I have always been very proud of you from what you've done from the very beginning in the process, and I'm so happy that we got a chance to have this conversation today. And I will be very anxious to have the students out there listen to what you have to say, and if there are any of them in Singapore, please get a hold of and learn from her.
Welcome.
Thank you again, Eon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Insights on Internships. If you heard something that resonated, inspired, or made you reflect, please consider sharing it with a fellow student, academic advisor, or even your supervisor at your place of work. These stories are meant to travel. And who knows, they might just spark a new conversation or opportunity. And if you're a former student with a story to tell, or someone working with interns today, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep showing up with a passion for hospitality.